And welcome, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, freaks and shrieks,
boils and ghouls,
to the Castle of Spirits True Ghost Stories podcast. I am your Ghostkeeper Jane.
And I'll be your Ghostkeeper Vince, and this is
That's Mr. Moon.
The castle, what would you call it?
He's
Panther.
He's my familiar.
Oh.
Anyway, so hey Vince, we have a really special show tonight, don't we?
Well, it is the first after having had to take 2 weeks off.
2 weeks.
Due to illness.
Mm-hmm.
The first week was we were just illin'. No, we were chilling on that time.
I don't remember why we didn't do it 2 weeks ago, but last week we were under the weather.
Yeah, we were. And I didn't want to come on here and get anybody else sick.
Yeah, he was caring about you guys.
Yeah.
It was really sweet.
So I canceled all my plans,
Mm-hmm.
including these wonderful plans.
Mm-hmm.
And, just having some fun.
Yeah.
Are we even on the air or what?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can't hear anything, so.
So, we thought that today, since it's been a hot minute since we did an episode, that maybe we would
do one.
We might do a little bit of a longer one tonight, just for funsies.
Yeah, a lot of times we start doing the live recording here on YouTube on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast gets podcasted out on Monday morning, but sometimes I feel like we kind of cut it short, or we reach the end just when we're actually starting to gel. And maybe we should just do an hour first. And they don't want to hear all about this.
No.
But yeah, tonight
anyway,
we're going to be telling
episode might be long. Yeah.
We're going to be telling some ghost stories. We are in the process of moving castle.
Yeah. So over the next couple of months, there might be, a week or two where we aren't able to do a show, and then we might end up taking a break for a couple of weeks as we actually move house. But we're really excited because this move means that we are going to have a dedicated space for our podcast. Right now, we have to move all of the recording equipment into the living room and then swiftly get rid of it so that we can continue living in said living room. So, it's going to be pretty cool.
It'll be fun. I've always wanted my own little castle dungeon with some sort of lighting setup and maybe a camera or two so that I could act a fool. And this is going to give me that opportunity.
Yeah.
If you do hear some strange sounds,
Mm-hmm.
it's not EVP being picked up. That's the sound of the castle hellhound Freya, who's like freaking out because she's trying to swallow her tennis ball.
She wants to play really bad, but we're working. And Mr. Moon, leave me alone. Okay, it's going to be a night of animals, and I don't mean Vince.
No.
Speaking of Vince, hey, Vince.
Yes,
I was
that's
wondering if you had a story you wanted to read the freaky folks.
Well, I wouldn't call them that because I was reading an instruction manual on how to do a good podcast, and one of the rules, like the number first rule, the number one rule,
the number A rule.
It says in here, you can see.
Okay.
It says, "Do not call your audience freaks."
Yeah, I think we might have picked one of the same stories.
Oh,
I just saw that story name on your. Nope, we didn't.
All right.
Okay, we're good.
Well, for tonight's story, I was thinking I would like to. I'd like to come up with a theme for tonight's episode, but the episode itself, when you randomize the stories, it's kind of hard to come up with a theme.
Yeah.
And tonight the theme will be the lapping of the water.
I know.
You might have heard that in the background.
Our animals are so noisy.
We should shut up about it because we have.
Maybe we should just stop broadcasting and start again once the animals have gone to sleep.
Yeah, it's like a dry run. We do, like I said, we do an hour and then we stop and then we try again, and it'll be better that time.
All right.
I decided to look for stories on the Castle of Spirits website that had to do with portals.
Ooh.
And
oh, good. That does fit in with the theme of the stories that I pick too.
Well, what do you know about that?
Not a lot.
And the first story I bring you tonight was submitted in October of 2022 by Kaitlyn in Michigan. This is called The Back Door. Back in 1974, when I was only 8 years old, we moved into a beautiful older home. Everything seemed to be going well until my mom bought a Ouija board. We all played with it, laughed at it, thought it was great fun, until things started to take a turn. One night, as I lay in bed, I felt something tug at my sheets. As I said, I was only 8 years old, so I didn't think anything about it. But I kept feeling this annoying, weird sensation of sorts. And then, out of the blue, something yanked both of my ankles and pulled me about 6 inches off of the bed. I jumped up and ran into the living room, which was all the way across the house, screaming at the top of my lungs for my mom and my dad. They assured me everything was okay and not to fret. Well, I was so terrified from then on that I never would go to the bathroom, which was on the other side of the house. Instead, I would use my baby doll diapers to urinate in. That's how afraid I was to get up at night. Fast forward a few weeks later, I was standing at the back door when someone knocked. Mind you, I was making toast standing right by the back door, so I immediately looked out, but no one was there. I ran outside, looked all around the house, and no one was there. There's no way that anyone could have outrun me. Sorry, I'm screwing this story up. There is no way anyone could have outrun my vision. I thought, oh no, the ghost again. And then a few weeks later, my mom awoke at night, screaming, saying she couldn't breathe, that something was trying to smother her. We were all terrified to live in the house. My dad accused my mom of opening a portal with the Ouija board. We started talking to the neighbors about the weird events, and it turns out that there had been 5 people brutally gunned down in this home, or so we were told. It was a drug deal gone bad, again, so we were told. And where the bodies had lain, you guessed it, was right at the back door. Shortly after that, we put up our house for sale and never looked back. And that was The Back Door by Kaitlyn in Michigan, submitted in October of 2022.
I remember that story.
You do?
Yeah.
Did we read this already?
I don't know if we've read it or not, but that is one of the first stories we got submitted when we reopened submissions.
When we launched the podcast and
can you believe
all
that? It's been 4 years?
No, I don't believe that.
Wow. Well, not quite 4 years the end of this year, but yeah.
Yeah. So why were you sitting there laughing as I'm reading the story?
Time's fun when you're having flies.
Sure is. Yum, yum.
Oh, I was laughing about the husband thought that she opened a portal with the Ouija board.
The dad accused the mom of opening a portal with the Ouija board. He's like, "You witches! You're a witch!"
I'm like, I signed a greeting card last week. Pretty much opened a portal in my house. That's just how I feel about it. Like a Ouija board, it's cardboard and paper. I'm not saying that you can't make any kind of contact. I'm not saying that you can't have a meaningful experience with it. But you ain't or opening portals.
Well, I mean,
I mean, I don't know. Intention is
It
nine
is.
tenths of the recipe.
It is all about intention. If you set your intention toward piercing the veil and talking to whatever it is on the other side, maybe you don't really need a Ouija board. Maybe you just
Well,
need to invite it in. I don't know.
I mean, I do think that to an extent you're going to get what you ask for. If you want to open a portal and you try hard enough, girl, you're probably going to do it. But if you're just like, oh, let's have fun and play with a Ouija board, you're not going to accidentally open a portal.
I do have to say that the vast majority of my experiences with Ouija boards throughout the course of my life have been nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing moved. I experienced movement on the Ouija board one time. I've talked about it before. It was the most remarkable Ouija board experience of my life. Happened in high school. We're talking like over 40 years ago.
It was like at least 3 weeks ago.
I mean, 40 months. Sorry. It was about 40 months ago. Anyway, 40 eons ago. And every other experience I've ever had, even with you, nothing really moved except for that time, that we...
I'm not very moving.
And I'm not... I was very moved, but not the board.
Well, I don't know, man. You seriously, like... You soiled your trousers.
What are trousers?
when it said Goku.
Yeah, that was the name of the demon that came through.
They know we've talked about it. It wasn't a demon. It was just nonsense because we both were like, this ain't nothing. And so we got nothing. But
nothing from nothing.
So
nothing.
Amber in chat asked if the new house that we're moving to is haunted. A little bit.
Yeah, is it?
Well, I mean, there have been a couple experiences there. Nothing like too crazy. My mom and my stepdad heard a man's voice one morning while they were waking up. They both heard it. And they both, they're still half asleep in bed. And they both turned to the other and said, what? So that was creepy. I had the VCR experience. I talked about that in the last episode, I think. Yeah.
Having said that, there have been times when you have awakened me in the middle of the night and I thought it was a voice, but it wasn't a voice, at least not from the throat. And, that can scare somebody really bad. The way she's looking at me, God, guys, I'm scared. Send help.
This house is about to become haunted. I'll see you next week for my first solo episode of the Castle of Spirits True Ghost Stories podcast.
No, I was just joking. That never happens around here. We do have a dog, however.
Maybe I should read a story.
Please do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see.
What kind of a story do you have for us tonight?
Anything that'll make you shut up. That's pretty much what I've got.
Oh. What was your search term or search parameters?
Oh, I searched. I was searching different words for doors and doorways. Mm-hmm. Does that work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Different kinds of portals. All valid.
Tonight's theme, portals.
All right.
In case you haven't guessed.
This story is Ghosts in the Bedroom, and it was submitted by Anonymous in the UK in December of 2006. Some people probably won't believe this story. Even my family and friends don't believe it. But all I can say is that my mom and I know what we saw. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether I'm telling the truth. I was about 10 years old when we first moved into our house. It was small, since only my mom and I were going to be living there. But we both loved the house and couldn't wait to move in, especially me, since my new bedroom was huge. Before we moved in, we were told that someone had died in my bedroom, but we didn't really give it much thought. I was too young to really care, and my mom had never taken things like that seriously. So we went ahead and bought the house. For the first few years, everything was fine. Then, when I was about 14, I woke up one morning and saw that my mom had left her bedroom light on all night. I was surprised at that because she always slept with the light off, and I asked her why. She told me that she had woken up in the middle of the night with a creepy feeling of being watched. When she opened her eyes, she saw a man standing at the end of her bed. She could describe him perfectly. He was tall, wearing a blue shirt, with dark hair and a mustache. She said that he was standing sideways at the end of her bed, and when she saw him, he slowly turned his head and gave her the most evil smile she had ever seen. My mom was so freaked out that she shut her eyes, telling herself she was dreaming, and when she switched on the light, he had disappeared. Every night after that, she slept with the light on for fear of seeing him again. A couple of nights after that, I had my own strange experience. I used to keep my glasses in a glasses case, which I put in a chest of drawers I had beside my bed. One morning, I woke up to find the glasses case not in the drawer where I had put it the previous night, but in the middle of the floor. I wasn't too bothered about it. After all, sometimes you misplace things and can't remember where you put them. But then I saw that my jewelry box had been turned upside down, and the jewelry was in a pile on the top of the chest of drawers, including the jewelry that I had been wearing when I went to sleep that night. When I told people about it, they said I had probably just been sleepwalking and did those things myself, but I was sure that wasn't the case. Only my mom believed me. Nothing else really happened after that until about a year later. We were moving house, and that night was going to be our last night there. We went to sleep as normal. By this time, my mom was able to sleep with the lights off again. In the middle of the night, I woke up to hear my bedroom door swinging back and forth, creaking loud enough to wake the dead. My door had always been squeaky, but never before had it swung back and forth like that by itself. Just passing it off as an annoyance, I tried to go back to sleep. But then I heard footsteps walking up and down the hallway. I ignored it, thinking it was just my mom. But when I opened my eyes, I saw in the mirror opposite my bed a transparent hand holding on to the edge of the door, pushing it back and forth. I was so scared I lay back down and tried to go to sleep. The creaking and the footsteps continued all night, and I didn't get a very good night's sleep, to say the least. The next morning, I woke up to find the hall light on. When my mom and I were having breakfast, I asked if she had switched it on. She said that she had, and asked me if I had heard the noises last night. I asked her what she had heard, and she told me that she heard someone knocking at the back door. But when she looked out of the window, nobody was there. She had also heard my door creaking, and being so scared had switched on the light. She then said that after she had done that, she saw a shadow passing back and forth through the crack in her bedroom door, as if someone was walking up and down the hallway. I then told her about the footsteps I had heard. We were both incredibly freaked out. Luckily, that was our last night in the house. We still don't know what the ghosts wanted. I think that they had grown used to us living there and were unhappy to see us going, so they wanted to give us a send-off as such. When we told other people, nobody believed us, dismissing the creaking of my door as the wind blowing. But the window wasn't even open. And even if it was, my door had never once done that before. I told them about the hand I saw, but again, everyone thought I was making it up. To this day, my mom and I still believe we were living in a haunted house. Thank you again to Anonymous in the UK for submitting Ghosts in the Bedroom in December of 2006. And Anonymous, I would just like to tell you and your mom, we believe you.
I guess. I mean...
Oh, come on.
No, I'm just saying, I've experienced similar things, but I haven't ever really thought, I live in a haunted house. But as you know, I have a tendency to sort of downplay things when they happen.
Yeah.
Supernatural type things. Anything else, if I stub my toe, it's the end of the world, and know, I'm up like a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
But
you should see him with a head cold. Woof.
Well, I didn't cry over the head cold.
More than 3 times anyway.
Yeah. It only counts if you do it twice or 4 times, right? Not 3.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that was actually kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
I have felt, I think it's possible to get like drafts and stuff, even if a window's not open. But that's exactly why I don't like to sleep with the window open. This one, Jane here, she loves to sleep with that window open.
I love it. I love it.
And one thing is, it's okay, I think, if you're like on the 2nd or 3rd floor up.
Yeah, we can't do it too much here because our bedroom window is ground level.
If you're on the ground level and somebody can just kind of waltz up and they can't really see in, because you got curtains and stuff like that. But,
but don't do it. A screen is not good protection. Just ask this when he puts his hand through the screen on the back door every time he tries to let Frey out.
I do that every time. Yeah, we have to replace that screen.
Yeah.
But I mean, on a more sober note, the Night Stalker got in through screens. Through windows that were open. And
you know that he's dead now, right? He's not.
Yeah.
He's not come, and he was nowhere around here.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't an original. He didn't invent the concept of, gee, look, there's a window open over there. I'm going to slice right through. And I'm going to jump right in.
Well,
I'd like to think that's another reason why I don't like sleeping with headphones or with earplugs rather, because I want to kind of be aware of if any kind of strange noises. We have the Castle Hellhound, and she snores so loud she might kind of drown out the noise of somebody coming in, and I don't want to wake up. Like my biggest nightmare, honestly, and this, is waking up with somebody standing over me.
The Hat Man?
The Hat Man, that's one. The Hat Man would be welcome to some of the other monstrosities that I have envisioned in my head.
The old hag?
The most terrifying monstrosities are regular humans.
Yes, that's true.
If it's somebody that looks supernatural, if it's a glowing
you
being
would
or something, I would load.
You would wet yourself.
I would load my underwear.
Yeah.
I would stain the mattress.
Wow.
But
it was a bit far.
I know. I apologize. Having said that, I think that I would rather that than the alternative of a very real type of thing, and which is leads us to the other the thing that I wanted to play tonight. I wanted to play a little game of Paranormal Would-You-Rather.
Yay! You didn't tell me.
No, because I just thought it up right now.
Oh, okay.
But it's no, I did plan this. Promise.
Oh, do you actually have some that you've put thought into?
Yeah, I'm putting some thought into it right now.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather spend the night in a haunted, possibly haunted, indoor mausoleum where every echo, every step is possibly something terrifying that's going to come after you and invade your space, maybe your mind.
Okay. Or?
Alone.
Okay.
Or would you rather sleep outdoors in a public cemetery in the middle of summer with a beautiful sky above you, the a cloudless sky, a starful sky,
Mm-hmm.
with another person to spot you.
Is this other person someone I know and have like approved of? It's not a rando.
Yeah, no, not somebody off the street like me or, somebody else.
I mean, that's a hard one because they both sound pretty appealing.
Mm-hmm.
I would do the mausoleum by myself in the middle of the night. I don't know if I've ever told my mausoleum story. Do you think I have?
Tell it now.
So in the late 90s, probably
Yeah, she was a ghost hunter.
probably 1999.
I love your stories.
You do?
Yeah, I love hearing them.
Thanks.
That's why I say tell it again, just in case they haven't heard it.
I was with this ghost hunting group, and we had arranged to basically stay overnight or investigate overnight. We weren't like sleeping there or anything. This mausoleum in town. In fact, it's the mausoleum at the cemetery where we walk Freya. This was just over there.
I've still never been inside.
He hasn't, because for some reason it's locked. And
Well, they
you
don't
have
allow
to, like,
dogs either. So.
go to the office and they give you like a button code to press to get in. But we need to do it because it's really cool. So, like, they just handed us the key and they're like, when you're done, lock the door, drop the key in the mail slot. So it was pretty cool. And we were set up in the main entrance to the mausoleum. So if you've never been in a mausoleum before, it's basically this big, typically marble clad, I'm talking floors, walls, everything is like marble. It's very echoey. It's very austere. They have a mood and a vibe. And then all up the walls, there's these big, probably like 32 by 32 inches, these squares, all the way up the wall. And that's where, they take that off. They can put the coffin in. So behind every one of those squares, or just about all of them, is a coffin. And the entryway is just really big. Like you could have like a service in there. And there was a group of us. And because it was so echoey, we set up chairs in a circle. And we had very strict rules because we were recording EVP. And with it being so echoey, if everybody was talking at once, you wouldn't be able to hear anything. So we each went around in order in the circle, and only one person would speak at a time. You could ask a question like, the standard, is there anyone here who wants to communicate with us? Or, you could just kind of tell the other people in the group, this is what I'm feeling, or, whatever. And a few times we would turn off the light, and we just had flashlights on, and we would turn off the lights and we would just sit there in silence. And it wasn't pitch black because the parking lot was just on the other side of the doors, and so light was coming in. You could still see everybody. So we're sitting there, and it's probably midnight by this point, and we're just sitting there being silent. And you could hear, I don't know how paranormal this is, but it was creepy. Every once in a while, you'd hear a sound in the walls. It sounded to me, and it could just be my imagination running wild, it sounded like bones. Like maybe a bone fell and landed on another bone. Like just kind of that. It was just very understated, very silent, just like a clack. And then, maybe a few minutes later, you'd hear another one. It wasn't like a footstep.
These are the sounds of bodies slowly decomposing. I mean, really.
That's what it sounded like. But
or settling.
But if they're in a coffin behind a marble wall, I do have to wonder how much you would hear, like a little bone falling and clacking again. But regardless, that's what it sounded like. But then there was a moment where, so I was sitting with my back to the front door, kind of looking down the whole entryway toward the back, where there's like a big stained glass window, a few stairs up to like a platform where, you know, they could have a casket for a service. And then on either side of that, there was a hall to the left and a hall to the right. I could see that the halls were there, but I couldn't see down them. And I was sitting there and I kept looking at those two hallways, and I felt like I kept expecting out of one to see like a man in like a three-piece suit with, you know, the coattails and, you know, the top hat or whatever. And out of the other one, I kept expecting to see a woman like in a bridal gown or something. And, you know, I was just kind of brushing it off like, this is just the kind of things that your mind does. You see a hallway that you can't see down, you expect someone to come out of it. My brain concocted these two characters, and now I'm just kind of focusing on that. So a little bit later, we decided to take a break because we had been in there for a few hours at that point. And we were just kind of sitting in the parking lot, hanging out and chatting because we couldn't do any chatting in the building. And this one lady that was there, I didn't know her. She was from another group who was with us that night. She said, I kept expecting to see a man in like a tuxedo coming out of the one hallway over here. And I looked at her and I said, me too. And she's like, and a woman in a white dress in the other one? And I was like, oh, yes. So that was...
What's interesting about that to me is the fact that you hear about people seeing ghosts. You don't see a lot of ghost photographs, at least not ones that are convincing, to me anyway. And I think I venture to guess to you either, and I am speaking to Jane, but I could also be speaking to you listening right now. But I believe that there could be something else involved in ghost sightings, and that is that people are presented with the idea of an image, and some of them actually see it in their mind's eye, and some of them actually project that into the space before them. I don't think that it's out of the question to think that that's something that happens, especially if
that
you're
either
freaked
she
out.
or I kind of concocted that in our mind and the other one picked up on it.
No, what I'm saying is that it's quite possible that the man in the
in the tuxedo,
in the tailcoat, the tuxedo, was projecting his image into your mind, like, see me, you know. I think that's entirely possible.
Yeah,
as
maybe. Well, it's odd because they seemed like they were in old-timey wedding garb, but who's having a wedding in a mausoleum?
I don't know. I mean, I think that would be a really cool place to get married, actually.
Yeah, but I don't think they'd allow it. They'd be like, you guys are sick. Goodbye. But
well,
yeah,
I don't know if you grease enough palms, I think you might be able to get away with a lot in there. But maybe just a wedding ceremony.
Ew.
Maybe there were. Did you happen to do any research about who was buried there? Maybe there was
just
a bride,
a whole lot of locals. Oh, I'm sure there's a few brides.
A bride and a husband that maybe they didn't get to live out their marital fantasies or their
marital fantasies.
Maybe what I'm saying is that maybe they died on their wedding day and they didn't get a chance to consummate their love.
Wow, it's just getting worse
in the biblical sense. And by the way, you were talking about being in that space where you can have like a service of sorts. Jane is wearing her Pulp Fiction T-shirt, so let us pray, everybody.
Okay, but I would do the cemetery too, except I have a scary story that happened in a cemetery too.
Really? Do tell.
It was a different cemetery, but the other one on the other side of town. This is a true thing that happened to me, and this is the one thing that would give me pause about spending the night in a cemetery. So same ghost hunting group, probably the same year, we were at this huge cemetery that we have here in town. The one where we walk Frey is much smaller. And we had been there for a while, and we were kind of getting ready to wrap it up and go home. and I was standing up like on the higher side of the cemetery, not really a hill, but just like up on one of the high roads. And all of a sudden there was this sound behind me, like a whoosh type sound, or like a clicking, like a type sound. And I turned around real quick, and I just saw like this little flash, like it was kind of flashing with the sound, and it just went boom, like right past me. And I almost lost it. Whatever it is, it was about lost. And then I realized that it was a homeless guy on a bike. Yeah. So that would give me pause. Staying.
Exactly. Right. And that's why my answer to the paranormal, not really paranormal, but to the spooky would you rather is I would much rather spend the night inside of a closed and locked mausoleum, even by myself, rather than spending it in the middle of a cemetery that's kind of in the middle of a city, a very urban area.
But if you were with me, I would.
Where there are no locked gates or anything like that, people can just sort of wander through, because there's always more to fear from the living than there are from the dead.
Yeah.
So,
and anybody there in the middle of the night is up to no good, except we'd be in there.
Except for you. So you never know. It could be some other podcaster or something like that.
It's like whenever we're watching the ghost hunting shows that we like to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know. This is like, we're way out here in the middle of nowhere. If there's someone here, they're up to no good. I'm like, bruh, you're there. Are you up to no good?
Shout out to Joe and Elliot from Ghost Theory on YouTube.
Ghost Theory, yeah.
If you like YouTube, if you watch Ghost Theory, let Joe and Elliot know that Vince
Castle
and Jane
Spirits sent you.
From Castle Spirits sent you and said hello. And I do think that you may have told those stories in the past, but I like to hear them again because they're never the same twice. Not that you change the
just
the details,
tell
but
it
just
different. Focus on different things.
And it's kind of like hearing variations on a theme. But if you are interested in those kinds of stories, we do sort of tell all of our backstory in episode 1 of Castle of Spirits podcast. It's called Meet the Ghost Keepers. That would be us.
Still. Okay, Vince, how about you read us a story?
No, I'm good.
Now.
Okay. Here, take Mr. Moon.
I don't want the cat.
Oh, I have Mr. Moon on my lap.
He's cradling him like a baby, if you can see this on YouTube. This cat, seriously, I have never known a more social cat.
Which brings me to the next story. Was submitted by Norma Miller in West Virginia, USA, in June of 2004. This story is called Ghostly Cats. From the years 1986 to 89, we lived in a 100-year-old house in East Lynn, West Virginia. About a month after moving in, my husband asked me if I had noticed some small animals running in the house. Well, I had. They looked kind of like cats, and they would appear out of nowhere, drift around, and disappear behind furniture. If you approached them, they moved very fast, and when you would look where they had hidden, there was nothing there. My 2 sons saw them too. The oldest one was always trying to build traps to catch the dark kitties in. My youngest son was only 2 when he first noticed them. He was sitting on my lap in the rocking chair one day when one of these things appeared. It drifted across the room, passed by us, and I watched it disappear into the kitchen doorway. Dana, my child, saw it and exclaimed, "Doggy," as he tended to call all animals doggies. Sorry. We lived there for about 3 years, and we saw them regularly. They were always only one at a time, though. Or maybe there was only one altogether, but I always had the feeling that there were a lot of them, and that they were always dark brown and never clearly defined. They seemed to drift or float, usually staying near the walls, but sometimes they would drift right down the middle of a room. No matter how fast you were, they were always faster, and they seemed to be teasing the way they'd let you see them, and then they'd disappear. We were not frightened by them, and they never seemed evil or scary. They were more entertaining than anything else. Also, I feel it's important to note that we did not own a cat for the first 2 years we lived there, nor did any of the neighbors. When we did get a cat, she was solid black and looked nothing like our blurry visitors. The only other pet we had was a large mixed breed dog. No way we could have mistaken him for the small creatures we saw drifting about. We also never saw them outside or in the storage building. Since nobody had lived in this house for 3 years before we moved in, and the lady who owned it was in a nursing home and unable to see visitors except family, it was hard to get any information on the house's history. All I could find was that it was one of the oldest homes in East Lynne, and it was built in the early days by coal miners. In fact, it was built into a rock cliff. The back of the house was rock and joined to the hill that it's on. That was why we moved. Water was starting to run down the walls when it rained hard. Since then, I've read of similar things happening, and some things about rocks and underground water being portals. And that was Ghostly Cats by Norma Miller in West Virginia in June of 2004.
That was good.
That's a fascinating story. It's both scary because of the way she describes cats are creepy enough.
Yeah.
Living cats, but when you see
he puts
things,
his hand on your heart. He's like, "Daddy, no."
Yeah, he just did. But yeah, it sort of all came together there at the end. Water being a portal, and there being water like in the foundation and rock.
Yeah.
So what were these things? Were these they clearly weren't cats.
Doggy.
They weren't animals. They were doggy.
So we're not making fun of the kid. It's a really hilarious part in a Riff Tracks episode we like to watch.
Oh yeah, I thought it was a meme. No, it's a Riff
the
Tracks episode.
Yeah, the grocery witch.
Yeah.
Doggy.
If anybody out there is Mystery Science Theater 3000 fans, you'll know what we mean. But yeah, what did you think of that story? That creeped me out.
Yeah, that was really good.
I was watching Mr. Moon the other day, watching something move around the room.
Yeah.
He was staring up, and I immediately stared up because I thought, oh no, another moth. Or
Vince
maybe a
is
spider.
afraid of moths.
Well,
just thought I'd out him here.
If
we had a big moth in our house the other day, and as we're going to bed, we're all settled into bed and the lights are off. I told him, I saw something really scary. And he's like, what? I'm all, you're not going to like it. He's all, what? Tell me. The moth is in the bedroom. And he was like, ah! And then you found it this morning.
I did. I did not hurt it. It hurt itself. But
he gave it a burial at sea.
The thing about it, though, is that what freaks me out about moths is that the way they move around. If they had voices, their voices would be going.
I don't think that's what they would sound like at all.
That's the way they sound like in my head.
No,
and in
I'm
my
picturing
nightmares.
like Beetlejuice when his head is shrinking. And his voice gets all high-pitched.
Yeah, but the way they maniacally slam into windows and they like fall all over the place, and they look like drunk butterflies that have been tarred and feathered.
I thought you said dogs. They reminded you of dogs.
One time I had an encounter with a moth that didn't scare me because it looked like a really old, tired dog. It was that big too. And I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. But when they're flying around and they're slamming into things and they're dive bombing you, and they don't even do it on purpose. They just dive bombing whatever it is that they're seeing moving. They're like, it's like they're saying, kill me.
We do get some crazy big moths here. One year, we had a moth in our backyard that I don't know where the picture is. This was like 15 years ago in our other house. I put my hand up next to it and took a picture. The moth was the size of my hand. Like, it was humongous.
It was also so big that you didn't dare get your hand too close because it might bite it off.
Well, its body was like almost the size of a mouse.
Yeah.
It was humongous. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I liked that story. And I think that cats, and I think you can have a cat ghost. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that this one is going to be a ghost. When that day comes, we'll be saddled with Mr. Moon forever.
When that day comes,
that's a good thing.
what will happen is we'll be asleep and we'll feel something walking on our backs.
Yeah.
I know that's going to happen some point.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's
he does
not,
that every night.
hopefully it's not the last thing I experience. You know what I mean? But yeah, I want to know, I want to hear from people who have had similar experiences. If you've ever had something like that, like either seen or perceived some sort of a small furry creature in your house, and you know that you don't have, it's bigger than a mouse or a rat, and you don't have a dog or a cat, or all the animals in the house are accounted for, and you see something moving through your house, especially through the middle of the room, floating. If you can't get to a camera and take a snapshot of it, at least tell us your story and share it with us at castleofspirits.com.
Please do.
Because I want to know more about this. This is a fascinating phenomenon.
Yeah. And, you know, also because we can't keep doing this show if you don't submit your stories. And I know that I'm a little lax in getting the stories published, but they will get published. I have a lot on my plate, guys, but
and we are moving.
I always get to them. But yeah, submit your stories. It really doesn't matter what it is. You might think, I don't have a ghost story, but I have a creepy story that might be paranormal or not. We don't care. Just send it.
Just make sure it's no AI, and make sure it's true.
Yeah, because if it's AI, we're going to not publish it.
We're going to flip out on you, man.
I don't know about that.
Tell us, Ghostkeeper Jane, do you have another true ghost story to share from the archives?
I do. Did you want me to do that?
I would hear of this story.
Oh, okay. Okay. This story is called Stamford Hotel Ghost, and it was submitted by Anonymous in Victoria, Australia in May of 2009.
Hat tip to all of our friends in Victoria, Australia.
You may think that I am a bit of a nutter, but the story I'm about to tell you is a real-life experience that happened to me in 1996 during my first week of working as a crowd controller / security guard at the Stamford Hotel in Rowville, Victoria, Australia. This was my first experience at seeing a ghost or spirit, but since then I have had several experiences with ghosts and spirits in several locations. I have always been very skeptical when it comes to things like ghosts, and to this day I still believe that there is some other explanation for the things I have seen. It was my first week working for a security company as a crowd controller security guard, and I had a big German Shepherd dog named Duke as my companion for car park patrol. I was working at the Stamford Hotel. At that stage, the hotel had had a lot of trouble in the car park at night, with patrons fighting and cars being vandalized and stolen. My job was to keep the peace and stop vandalism and theft of vehicles. The second night I was there, I was taken around the back of the pub by Mark, a longtime manager / employee of the pub. He said, "This is the staff car park. No one is to come out here apart from staff. Make sure you make your presence felt out here." I said, "No problem. I will vary the way I walk around the exterior and make sure I keep patrons away from this area." It was around 11:50 p.m. when I saw a man in a brown silk body shirt and brown pinstriped flared trousers walking through the staff car park. The man looked like he had come straight out of the 70s, and I thought that he must have been a homeless person by the way he was dressed. I said to him, "Excuse me, sir, you are not supposed to be out here." He kept on walking, speeding up slightly, walking toward the corner of the building. I followed him and once again said, "Excuse me, sir, you are not supposed to be out here." He kept walking and headed through a doorway at the end of the building. It was right next to the wall which separated the main building from the drive-in bottle shop. It was very dark beyond the doorway. I said in a loud voice, "Sir, come out of there now. I have a big dog with me and a gun, and if you don't come out, I will send the dog in after you." Just as a side note, that wouldn't work for me. I'd be like, "Send it in." There was no response from the man, but I thought that I had better get him out of there, so I turned on my mag light and went inside. It was at that point that my dog Duke started to cower and shake. He did not want to go inside. I had never seen him scared like this before. He was an extremely nasty dog. Inside the doorway, there was a small corridor with a wooden floor. To the left was the concrete wall of the drive-in bottle shop, and to the right was 2 rooms. It was filthy in there, lots of dust and cobwebs everywhere. It was obvious that no one had been in there for a very long time. I stood at the doorway of the first room and looked inside. There was an old broken chair and an old bed covered in dust in the room. I then moved along the corridor to the next room. The dog was refusing to move, and I flashed the torch on him. I noticed he was almost crawling, and I could see the hair was falling off him in clumps as I watched. He was scared, really scared. I was scared as well. I started to think what this guy was up to and if he would jump out at me with a big knife or something. I stood at the doorway of the second room and flashed the mag light around. There was an old wardrobe in there and a chair. The man was nowhere to be seen. I thought, uh-oh, he's hiding in the wardrobe. I yelled out, "I know you're in the wardrobe. Come out now and you won't be hurt. I have a gun and a big dog here. If you don't come out, I will set the dog on you." There was no answer, so I wondered what to do next. My dog was fighting to get out, scratching on the floor and whimpering. I thought I will have to get the man out of the wardrobe. I yelled again for him to come out, but still no answer. I put my mag light up against the door and pulled the door open, jumping back quickly. To my surprise, there was no one inside. I looked around, but the man was gone. I wondered how he could have possibly got out and got past me. I ran out into the car park and did a quick scan of the grounds, but the man was nowhere to be seen. I went around to the front door and saw one of the duty managers. I asked him to get Mark for me, but he said that Mark had gone home and left him in charge. I told him what had happened, but he wasn't interested. I asked him to tell Mark the next day when they were at work, and he said that he would make it a priority. The next night, I went to sign on, and Mark was in the sign-on room. I asked him if the duty manager had informed him of what had happened the night before. He told me that he hadn't told him anything. I told Mark about the man in the staff car park and how he went under the building, but I couldn't find him anywhere. Mark immediately showed interest and said, "Where did you see this bloke go? I want you to take me there now and show me exactly where he went." I took him, the licensee and the head of security, to where I had followed the man under the building the night before. I was amazed to see that there was a locked timber gate on the opening. Mark said, "Is this where you followed the man? Did you go inside?" I said, "Yes, this is it. It was open last night." Mark said, "Tell me, what did you see there?" I described the concrete wall to the left, the passageway, the 2 rooms to the right with the bed and chair in the first room, and the chair and wardrobe in the second room. Mark said, "That's incredible. I believe that you were in there because I have been in there before and you described it as I remember it. But take a look at the gate." I looked at the gate and saw the big, rusty lock. I said, "Yeah, it has a lock on it, but it was open last night." He said, "Take a closer look at the gate." I looked closer and noticed that the gate was also screwed and nailed shut. I said, "Okay, maybe maintenance nailed it shut today." Mark said, "Look again, down there," and pointed at the ground. I looked down and noticed that the bottom of the gate had been asphalted to the ground. It struck me that the gate had not been opened for years. But how did I get inside? To this day, I have no idea. The other 2 guys laughed at me and said I was nuts, but Mark told them not to laugh at me. He was positive that I had been in there, but could not explain how. We all went our separate ways, and I started my patrols. At the end of the night, after everyone had gone home, Mark grabbed me and took me into the beer and wine cellar. He showed me a picture on the wall and asked if I recognized anyone. I looked at it and noticed that one of the men in the picture looked like the man I had seen the previous night. I said, "That's the guy." He said, "I don't believe it. You've seen the ghost of Johnny Moore." At least I think that was the name he used. He was the old caretaker here. He died in that very room of smoke inhalation. I couldn't believe it. I was totally freaked out. I was very skeptical about ghosts, and still am. I was too scared to go back to work there, but I pushed myself to go. I found out that the caretaker's old girlfriend still worked at the pub, but refused to go into the cellar or talk about him or the ghost. I never saw that ghost again, but sometimes when I took things into the cellar and put them down, when I returned to pick them up, they would have moved. And one night, 2 plates flew across the cellar and barely missed me. I spoke to a local priest who I later found out was the exorcist for the Archdiocese of Springvale, and he said he had heard of many similar stories, but none concerning the Stamford Hotel. He had no explanations for what I had done or seen, but said I had been chosen for some reason that I may find out later. To this day, I still do not know the reason I was chosen. So, thank you again to Anonymous for that tour de force from Victoria, Australia, for submitting Stamford Hotel Ghost in May of 2009. And Anonymous, if you ever figured out the reason that you were the one who saw that, or if you have any updates and you just happen to be listening, we want more. And if anyone else knows of the Stamford Hotel in Victoria, Australia, has any experiences there, we're looking at you too, kids.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that whole aspect of the story where he said, I was in this area, and he said, it's impossible that you were there because look, it's barricaded.
Yeah,
basically.
there's no way to get in there.
And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about that I think it's possible that ghosts can project experiences or thoughts into your head, into the heads of the living, maybe into the heads of the also dead. I don't know.
Right, because there's no way that that Anonymous and Victoria just like materialized through these physical barriers.
Well, I mean, there would be people who'd argue that could have happened, but what's more likely? I mean, there's three possibilities. One is that he materialized through there. Two is that the ghost projected the surroundings that it wanted him to see. And the third is that it's just a made up story. But,
and I don't think it's a made up story.
It has the ring of truth because there's a lot of stories that we have on the website that, for lack of a better way of saying it, they're told by real people. They're not told by professional writers or poets or,
But sometimes you can tell when a story is being a little embellished.
Yeah, yeah.
Or flat out made up.
Yeah, there's a thing. You could look at something and there are people who say that if you still your mind and you take a deep breath and you meditate a little bit and you ask yourself the question, how am I going to die? That everybody intuitively has a feeling
but
of
that
how
doesn't
that's
mean
going to happen. Not necessarily a fear.
No, but that's...
But in the same way,
that's a thing that just a lot of people say they have. Like, how many of them come true? Sometimes it does come true. But like, I had a friend years and years ago who said that she just knew that she was going to die before her 21st birthday. I'm here to tell you, she's probably almost 50 right now. So
yeah, okay. I have a story similar to that.
Okay.
When my father told me probably when I was 18, so he was about 58 or something. He said that he had a knowing in his heart that he was going to die before he was 19 years old.
Yeah.
He lived to be 85 years old and, outliving that. However, he almost died when he was that age.
Really?
Yes.
You never told me
I
this.
don't quite know the details, but he said it happened on a Mother's Day in the late 50s. He was with a bunch of college friends. He went to college in Birmingham, Alabama, from where he lived where he was born in Puerto Rico. And he had a bunch of friends, and they went out on some boats on this lake. And there were girls there, It was Mother's Day, so what's Mother's Day? May? Something like that. So warm weather probably. And a lot of the guys were jumping in the water and showing off and swimming for the girls and stuff. And my father said, man, I'm going to impress me a girl too. And he dove into the water.
He didn't know how to swim, right?
He did not know how to swim.
I knew that. I knew he didn't know how to swim.
If you know me, and a lot of people listening to this probably really don't know this about me, but that's something that I would do. Right? It's like, as my feet leave the dock and I'm sailing towards the water, in that instant, a lifetime is lived where I think, oh my God, I don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Oh, it'll be okay. And so what happened was that he almost drowned because he didn't flop into the water and do the doggy paddle. Like you can throw a dog into the water and they'll figure it out. But humans,
not Poppy.
Humans are not like that. And my Poppy was not like that either. He did learn how to swim eventually. But
it could have worked out in his favor, like in the movies where like he could have been rescued by some cute chick who was studying to be a lifeguard. Like, that's a classic movie meet cute.
Right. No, he was rescued by one of his buddies.
Oh, that's kind of romantic
and
too, though.
and but it was on Mother's Day, and my father said that while he was like drowning or worrying about drowning, splashing around, probably ruining his chances with any of the girls that were watching him on shore.
Good thing your mom wasn't there, huh?
Yeah. That he was thinking, oh my God, it's Mother's Day and I'm going to die on Mother's Day. This is going to mess my mom up for the rest of her life. And, he had an incident where he may very well have died when he was 19. Maybe in some other alternate timeline he did.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's what we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like the little timeline splits where, you narrowly miss a really bad wreck and you think, I could have died. But probably in another timeline and another, parallel universe, you did.
And you were spared the horrors that are happening in the world today. But I digress. Yeah. So it's kind of freaky stuff.
Yeah.
I like that story, though. Thanks for reading it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really enjoyed that story, too. I think we had some bangers today.
We sure did.
Mm-hmm.
And you did mention that you wanted to go a little long tonight.
Yeah.
So if you guys listening or watching on live on YouTube, if you're down with it, as the kids say these days, I can read you another story I have right over here on my smartphone here.
Do that.
I also wanted to before getting to that, I had a couple of housekeeping things that I wanted to do.
Stop saying housekeeping. That's not what means.
We had a couple of messages come through.
Oh?
Yes. Only one of which I can read because two of them are just like, kind of blank.
Does one say, I hate you?
No.
We did get that message one time and I was like, okay, cool, delete.
Yeah. We got this on March 24th, 2026. It says it's from Vince, but I didn't send this.
You're right.
It's a message from our listeners. It says, hello, I discovered your podcast a couple of months ago and I really enjoy it. I like the story reading along with the easy conversation between readings. I'm writing to say that last Saturday I listened to your seance podcast and all the discussion about ectoplasm. Well, that same night, I watched Peaky Blinders, the movie, and early in the movie, there was a mention of ectoplasm in the context of gypsies performing seances. This is not earth-shattering, but I found it ironic that over the course of 3 hours, I heard the word ectoplasm mentioned from 2 different sources, whereas the only other time I've ever heard it
Ghostbusters
was from a Ghostbusters movie. Thanks for doing your show every Saturday night. Thank you.
Ectoplasm has a very storied past. Like, look up Victorian ectoplasm seances and photography. Like, they were getting crazy with it. Those were some wild times.
They really were getting crazy with it. I have experienced things similar to ectoplasm, but that was when I had bronchitis. And it's not quite the same thing. And I'm pretty sure they took me to the doctor instead of an exorcist. But what they should have done was just played Pulp Fiction because it's full of scripture, as you know. Yes.
I have a text message. We got a text message.
No way. Let's hear it.
I actually haven't read it yet.
Just now? Or?
But we got it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, yesterday. I haven't read it yet, but it's from a reliable source. So it's actually an update from Amber.
Oh, yes.
Who's in chat right now as well. Yeah, Amber from the Not Amber, Doppelganger stories.
If you guys haven't heard these 2 doppelganger, these are the doppelganger stories that are happening in real time.
Yeah.
To one of our listeners named Amber. Mm-hmm. And we've been covering it for the last 2 shows. So this is kind of exciting. I want to hear this. Tell me.
Okay. Amber says, hey, keepers of ghosts. I wanted to shoot y'all an update on the weird goings on in my house. I was sitting on my living room couch drawing with a lamp turned on and an end table nearby. That lamp has 2 settings. One is a warm yellow light, and the other is a pretty bright white light. To change the settings, you have to pull the chain. Anyway, I was in the zone drawing when I heard a click. When I looked up towards the lamp, I saw the lamp switch from the warm yellow light to the bright white light. That gave me chills. I was the only person at home at the time. I sat there for a while freaked out, but eventually calmed down and turned the warm yellow light back on. I said out loud, "I prefer this light, thank you." I tried to debunk the light situation, but couldn't. You have to pull the chain to change the settings. It still freaks me out to think about it. My husband came home from work the other night and thought I was in the kitchen making a late night snack because he heard what he called cutlery tapping and scraping on what sounded like a plate. Oy. So he walked in the kitchen to try and get in on the snack action, but I wasn't in there. No one was in there. My daughters were in bed upstairs, and my dog Azalea. Thanks, Amber. She knows how we love to know the dog's name. My dog Azalea and I were in my bed fast asleep as well. He woke me up and told me what he experienced. He was clearly shaken. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Amber. That's excellent. Sounds like not Amber was up for a midnight snack. And yeah, that was good. But
Amber, do you
also,
take Ambien? Just kidding.
But also, I really liked that. And I thought the lamp was so creepy because of our haunted lamp story from the last house we lived in, which we've told before.
This isn't that first episode, Meet the Ghostkeepers, but she'll tell it again anyway.
No, I won't. Go listen to Meet the Ghostkeepers.
Okay. No,
but
cool.
we had a similar experience. Yeah.
And I want you to listen to that episode and that story and tell me if my version of the story is what happened or if Jane's version of the story is what actually, what you think the explanation was.
Clearly it was a ghost. I'm right. You're wrong.
And hey, I've loved and lived long enough to know that when your wife says that, you just say,
"Yep,
yes, dear."
Hey, we tried to debunk it many times. We tried everything we could, and it would not happen again. We couldn't make it happen again. 13 years in that house, it never happened again.
No, never did.
Anywho.
Well, I was going to read another story.
Okay, do it.
If it's all right with you guys. What about you, Jane? Were you interested?
Yeah.
Because I have a story here that's got a kind of a cool title.
Okay.
Kind of a creepy title.
Let's have it.
It was submitted by Florence from New Jersey all the way back in August of 1999.
Ooh, that's a long time ago.
'Twas a good year. This is called The Bad Closet.
No, stop right now. Do not read anymore because there is not a story that could live up to that title.
The Bad Closet.
That's like one of the creepiest story titles I've ever heard.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read it because I'm committed now.
All right. Well, I'm already scared.
I was about 12 or 13 when this happened. I lived in my parents' house in Hoboken, which was a 2-story house with a finished basement. The basement apartment was where my parents had set up our living area. The 3 bedrooms on the first floor were mine and my 2 brothers. My room was the large room that faced the street. There were 2 large closets with heavy wooden siding doors flanking the door leading to my oldest brother's room. The one nearest my front door was my personal closet. The other one, on the other side of the room, was for my mother's out-of-season clothes. To this day, I refer to it as the Bad Closet. It was a Sunday. I was sitting on my bed reading when I heard a scratching sound. It was a slow, rhythmic scratching. I looked up, and it stopped. I went back to reading, and the scratching began again. This time I got up to look around the room. I figured that my brother might be playing a trick on me. The scratching was very loud and consistent. I went out the hallway door and walked around to the hallway entrance to my brother's room, thinking that I'd surprise him. To my surprise, no one was in the room. I went back to my room and closed the door. No sooner had I sat down than the scratching began again. This time I went downstairs. My father and my youngest brother were watching a ball game. My mother was cooking in the kitchen. I was afraid to tell either of my parents. I asked where my oldest brother was, and my mother told me that he'd gone to the movies. I felt uneasy as I went up to my room again. This time the scratching began as soon as I shut my bedroom door. I remember being frightened, but also very curious. I had to know where the sound was coming from. As if a game of hot and cold had been initiated, the sound became louder as I searched the room. I walked around my bed, peering out of the window. As I approached the closet furthest from the hallway door, the scratching became extremely loud. I remember feeling shocked when I realized the sound was coming from a spot behind the heavy sliding door directly in front of my nose. I bolted into the hallway and ran up the stairs to my grandparents' apartment. I knew I could trust my grandfather to come to my rescue. I can still see him as we walked down the stairs to my bedroom. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest. I don't know what I expected to see in that closet, but I knew it was going to be horrible. My grandfather fearlessly stepped up to the now silent closet and slid the door open. The door revealed a nearly empty closet with a few winter coats and many empty wire hangers dangling from a wooden dowel. Grandpa rattled the hangers about just in case something or someone was hiding in there, but it was obvious the closet was empty. I can still see the scene in my head, still hear him saying to me, "There's nothing in here, sweetie. It's probably just a mouse or something." I was shaking my head wildly. Grandpa, this was something big. It was scratching at the top of the door, not the bottom. Grandpa told me it was probably the vibration of the trucks driving by or something. He was totally unconcerned. He could see for himself that the closet was empty. I watched him with dread as he mounted the stairs back up to his apartment. I was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, afraid to be there alone. I watched him open his apartment door and enter. As soon as he closed the door behind him, a terrific racket came from my bedroom closet. I spun around and watched in horror as the closet door, the heavy wooden sliding door, buckled at the end, the top, and the bottom, flapping like a rubber sheet as something inside the closet pounded frantically, furiously. I remember screaming, "I'm not afraid of you," and then racing down the stairs to my parents' apartment.
I'm not scared. Sorry.
I didn't tell either of them about that incident until many years later when I was an adult. I don't remember. I can't imagine how I managed to sleep in that room that night, but I've always had an intense fear of that closet. I never went in there after dark. There were nights that I was more afraid than others, and the fear wouldn't go away until after 5 a.m. I've had many horrible experiences, some dreams, some not, associated with that closet. Some are a little too detailed and embarrassing to relate in this submission. One thing I know is that whatever was in my closet never really left, and I still believe it's there now, maybe dormant, but still present. I was told by a Wiccan friend of mine that there was a portal in my closet, and since I was sensitive to psychic activity, it would always be active. She said she believed this thing was a minor demon and performed 2 cleansings on my closet to bind it so that it wouldn't bother me anymore. I can still feel it there. I don't live there anymore. I've since moved out. But when I visit my parents' house, I can still feel it. That was Florence from New Jersey back in August of 1999 with The Bad Closet.
Oh, that reminds me of the closet in my childhood bedroom, actually.
Yeah? How so?
It was a big, took up one whole wall. The house was built in the 40s, so they were these big, heavy wooden sliders, and they had like these elaborate decorations on them, and then there were drawers underneath. But I still remember the sound that those doors would make sliding. But that was really...
Oh, I thought you were going to say that something was pounding around in
No,
there.
I was just picturing my bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was super creepy. Because at first I was like, it's a rat or a mouse or something. But then, you know, the pounding and like the whoa, 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 the doors like buckling, and that's a big mouse. And if it's a mouse, you got to run. If it's doing that to the door. But also...
It's probably a rat in that case, yeah.
She was saying that her friend was Wiccan and said that there was a portal in there, maybe, but that it was a minor demon. Wiccans don't tend to believe in demons, so...
Well, maybe, I mean, this was 1999, so maybe she could have been a little confused about, what she believed and things like that. I mean, it is a learning process.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't know until right now that was the case. But, you do have to wonder if her big brother wasn't in the closet messing around with her. I have been a big brother
and a little brother,
and I have scared the hell out of both of my sisters.
Tell them the best story.
Well, one of the worst stories was when I was about 16 and my little sister was 14, and she and her best friend were hanging out at her best friend's house. And I knew they were alone. I was with my friend, my buddy as well. And I decided that we're going to go mess with them. So we called up and said, hey, what's going on? Because, teenagers, right? We're just talking. We're a bunch of nerds, right? And so my friend and I were talking to my sister, say, what's going on? What are you guys doing over there? Yeah, all right. And so I handed him the phone and I jumped into my car. They were only like a half a mile away in the same neighborhood. And I drove down there and I got out of the car and I crept up to the front door and I pounded on the front door. And I could see them come to the front door, and I ducked, behind like some bushes or something. And they were looking out the door. Her parents weren't home. So these two 14-year-old girls are home alone. And they moved back away. And then I came back up and I pounded on the door again and I hid. This went on for about 5 minutes. Meanwhile, my buddy has no way of contacting me to tell me, dude, get out of there. They're thinking about calling the police.
Oh,
no. So, fortunately they saw me. I went up for one more pound on the door, and my sister pokes her head, over to this little window and sees me. And she's like, was that you the whole time? And I was like, oh, I started laughing. And she's like, Lisa just called the police.
Oh.
And I turned around and I raced back to my car and I jumped in my car. And just as I was pulling out of their driveway, Lisa's mother was pulling into their driveway. And she yells my name as I'm speeding off. And of course, as I round the corner, here's my buddy. He'd come running. He'd hung up with my sister and her friend, and he came running to warn me. And so I threw the door open. I said, "Get in!" And we ran off like Butch and Sundance into the foothills, and where we laughed our asses off. And then I don't think I ever apologized to her mom, but the cops actually were not called.
Oh,
as it turns out, so
they were bluffing.
I was spared the humiliation of an arrest, but that's what I used to get up to when I was like 16. Some kids did drugs.
You hooligan.
I terrorized my little sister and her friends. So there you have it. So I'm wondering if maybe in that story, the brother was somebody like me who says, "Mom, I'm going to go to the movies." and then he like sneaks into his sister's closet and scares the hell out of her. But we'll never know.
That sounds pretty epic. Yeah. No, I guess we will probably never know. But yeah, so that was what?
I'm sorry I railroaded you. You were going to tell something.
I wasn't. Oh, but you know what?
What?
I hear the music coming down the hall.
What music?
The music.
Oh, that music.
Yeah. The music that says the ghosts need to be fed.
It's been a long time since the last episode, so yeah.
So the ghosts are very hungry, guys.
Yeah,
it gets
feeding.
So creepy and really gross when they're hungry. So
it is feeding time.
Mm-hmm. So it's Vince's turn to feed the ghosts, and yeah,
I did that last time, though.
Dude, I cleaned the ghost litter box. You want to do that? Because I guarantee that's worse.
Cleaning up like ectoplasmic droppings is nothing like risking your fingers, which I already have a damaged finger, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
As you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a bit off now.
That's okay.
Possibly.
It's okay.
I'm one-handed.
Well, you're about to be no-handed.
Yeah, whatever.
So, yeah. Hey,
you guys are my witnesses.
Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. We had a pretty lively chat in YouTube tonight. We love all of you guys, and we are so close to hitting 600 subscribers on YouTube, so you know, help a ghost keeper out.
If you haven't subscribed, please do so.
Yeah,
every additional subscriber that we get brings us an inch closer towards our goal of world domination through video and podcast media. And I promise that I'll be better.
Well, and I have an idea for something that I want to start doing. Yeah. So we'll talk about it. Off air. But yeah. So, guys, we are gonna be here as much as we can over the next month or two. But please be patient with us while we move. We promise we'll make it worth your while. Anyway.
I think as we let the music fade, because when we edit the podcast, we don't edit the podcast.
Nope.
When we broadcast it on YouTube, I like to put up a thumbnail. This is a little bit behind the scenes footage, guys. Yeah. And I'm always looking for a good thumbnail from this episode. And one of the last shows I did, I was sitting there looking like a sick bump on a log.
Yeah.
And so I had to use an old thumbnail. So I would like to try and take this moment to create some thumbnails. Okay. The best thumbnails are the ones where we're both smiling, so pretend you're laughing.
No, I want to look scared this time.
No, do the laugh. Do the laugh. You have a beautiful smile.
Oh,
but I'm always looking like I'm smelling a big toe or something when you're smiling, and it doesn't.
Maybe it's my breath.
Could be that. So, all right, let's pretend we're both laughing.
Okay.
And happy.
We are laughing.
Yes, we're so funny. You are the funniest person.
What can I say?
Wow.
And that was humiliating enough.
No. Now you have to look scared.
Okay, scared real quick.
I'm gonna try and scare you like this.
Okay.
Or I'm gonna hold up my phone like I'm reading something with my hand in the air like this, and you look scared. Oh. Okay.
All right.
That might give us something to work with.
If you like this show, tell a friend.
If you hate this show, go tell an enemy. Maybe even two.
Two.
Because you deserve each other.
Wow.